Hi, my name is Finn Behnfeldt, and I have decided to do my final senior degree project on the topic of screenwriting and AI, and I have titled this project Storytelling Automated. So, the topic, or the root problem of this topic, involves the very, very quick development of artificial intelligence in our current society, and how that has challenged creatives and worried them in terms of how their jobs might be affected or whether they'll be able to keep their jobs. Um, in large studios, some of the really big leaders in the industry are able to take advantage of this. Not only this fear, but also a lack of knowledge that many of these creatives have or do not have, rather, um, on this particular topic. So, in doing so, they are pretty much just exploiting the workers' fears of losing jobs. That is pretty much what they're doing, using the threat of AI over their heads in order to potentially get them working more. Um, and yeah, of course, there are going to be huge changes that we're going to see rolling out within the next several years, within the next few decades, to, I mean, the world, but more specifically, the entertainment industry. And these are coming, like I said, they're coming pretty soon. And it's not exactly possible to fully prepare for because we don't know where we're going to be within that amount of time. Even though we can make estimations, they're never going to be 100% accurate. However, by shedding light on the problem and bringing it into the public, younger screenwriters around college age who are aspiring to get into the entertainment industry um, will have a far greater chance to combat this sort of rise by standing even just slightly above the curve than everyone else who's also coming into the industry, even if less talented than that person, just because they'll be aware of the technological advancements that might limit or that they can harness um, for their future jobs. Um, some major insights that I have had in both my literature review, research, and interviews. Um, Firstly, for my independent research, I didn't actually know this initially, but industry leaders are genuinely um, promoting this level of fear mongering in order to just straight up exploit their workers. As I stated before, that is entirely the reason, and this has a lot to do with the writers' strike that just ended rather recently, as they, even though it didn't initially start as the reason for the writer's strike, the start of it, of course, being that involving streaming services and how writers weren't being adequately paid because they were constantly having to go between projects. Um, However, another problem developed when large Hollywood studios began to threaten the use of AI to write scripts, holding that over their head, which ended up making that another part of the writer's strike that slowly began to develop. And yeah, as I said, studios have already started using chatbots. But for the interviews that I did, this first point I got from an independent filmmaker, but they were actually not really affected much by the strike, which isn't surprising when I think about it. However, since they do have to go through production companies in order to get their work, of course, published to the public, this can cause some problems that were not gone over much. Um, and then education about artificial intelligence, just in general, not even just regarding writing, although that is included. It's very limited right now because of how new it is, um, and how misunderstood it is. And in many cases, it is very commonly regarded as unconcerning by a lot of these creatives. And this next quote is something that I heard a lot in my interviews and even in my research. But it is that AI is incapable of human complexity and emotional depth. And I'm going to go over in much more detail later on why I think this is wrong, and why in other ways it is correct. Because this was just something I heard so often. This is a very common point of view. Um, and then this last point, I actually wasn't fully aware of. I didn't know too much about this, but AI is very commonly used currently during the filmmaking process. However, this is not necessarily including screenwriting. It's mostly a bunch of other parts of the filmmaking process. So, moving on, I have a persona here of a college senior at Miami University named Mara Doyle. She's 21. She identifies as a woman, and she majors in media and film. So, for biography, Mara has been passionate about filmmaking for a very long time, since as young as high school, and she started writing stories at an even younger age. So she started learning how to write scripts rather than prose once she got to college, and ever since then, she has become more and more interested in researching developments within the entertainment industry because that's what she wants to go into. So branching off of that, she comes from a middle class family in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is her hometown, and currently, obviously, is attending Miami University out of state. So she's often described as determined and assertive, yet very friendly. And she is very set on her career path and certainly possesses that willpower that is needed to get as far as she wants to get. So underneath this, I have included her goals. Some of which being that she would like to have a position secured as a screenwriter in Hollywood after college. And since this is not something she knows as much about, she wants to make sure she can gain as much knowledge as possible about developments in the entertainment industry, specifically in regards to screenwriting and film. And she wants to write stories just in general that will resonate with larger audiences, and also branching off of that to create stories that end up prospering for a long time, even after she's gone from the industry and after she's retired. So, some opportunities that she can consider are classes that might focus on current technology um, within the industry, even outside of it, but also programs apart from classes, separate programs maybe outside of school um, that can help her receive feedback on the scripts that she does write, because that'll be incredibly valuable to her in order to write scripts that she's super proud of. Um, and then also just to talk to people who are currently working in the film industry. So on the other side of things, we have some unmet needs and pain points of hers. Um, and this kind of goes back to our opportunities. One set of needs that is not exactly fulfilled for her is an assurance that she will be able to make it in the industry. And also, she's not sure how to find peers who have a connection to film, to the industry as a whole, um, which is a super big problem because obviously connections, especially in the entertainment industry, are extremely, extremely important. And you need those connections, you need those relationships, those professional relationships with people who are in that industry in order to get anywhere. It is super, super important. Um, and she also doesn't have the knowledge she might need on the technological developments since she's less educated in that area. Um, and because of all of these struggles, she is very afraid of failing in her career, which is a very common problem, especially amongst creatives. So she often suffers burnout because of pushing herself so hard. Um, among other things. And then the challenges also branch off of that. It's very difficult staying competitive in such a quickly moving industry. So, moving on from her, we have the website, and I'm going to show the full website in a second, but I would like to go over some of the individual parts that I think are very important to highlight. So first of all, we have the homepage. This is specifically above the fold, though the rest of the homepage is included. But this part especially is meant to be brief and digestible. That is pretty much the main important part of this. And it includes the introductory video just right below, because the video, as I'm going to go over in a moment, is the most important part and the part that I put the most work in. And then, of course, you can see the navigations along the bar at the top. And all of this I'm going to show the functionality of. So I would like to show the video as well, because this is the thing that is going to be the main draw of the project. So this is the video essay. I've called it Screenwriting Automated, a video essay on AI and entertainment, and I'm going to show that right now. Artificial intelligence. Some of us are excited to watch its evolution in the current age of technological development. Others fear the idea of a singularity that could lead to the total takeover of AI in our society. It's fascinating, yet terrifying. Despite our fears, we can no longer halt its rise. But is it something we should actually fear? Are we doomed to a life of eternal stagnation as we allow robots to control every facet of our lives? Clearly, there is a lot of uncertainty surrounding the place of AI in our society. The rise of chatbots like ChatGPT have greatly ramped up discussion about job security. While ChatGPT definitely won't be the program that does this in forever, its rise into mainstream media has raised an important question. Will AI take all of our jobs? Before we try to answer any super existential questions, I'd like to discuss one industry in particular that a number of people seem to believe is relatively untouchable by the influence of artificial intelligence: entertainment, and more specifically, film. There are a wide variety of media that actually address and speak on many of these theories of the occurrence of a potential singularity that results in a total social and professional takeover. Take Andrew Stanton's 2008 Pixar film WALL-E, for example, which is often cited as one of the most accurate depictions of what our society could look like very far into the future. In this future, we are mindlessly bound to a life of stagnation. We become totally exorbitant of the sensory pleasures around us as robots do all of our difficult work for us in the background. Or Stanley Kubrick's 1968 film 2001: A Space Odyssey, in which an AI program takes control of a mission that two astronauts were assigned to, killing one and nearly annihilating the other. Or the Blade Runner series, or... I'm gonna get ahead of myself. The point is, there are tons of these films. In the animation sphere of filmmaking, voice actors of the characters are, in the vast majority of cases, essential to animated films. Recently, however, we have been seeing incredibly accurate deepfakes of voices that could very likely threaten voice actors in the entertainment industry. I mean, check out this video of Mordecai from JG's Quintel's regular show going through his teenage emo phase again as he sings a Panic at the Disco song.
I chime in with a haven't you people ever heard of closing a goddamn door? No, it's much better to face these kinds of things.
There are tons of videos containing deepfakes just like this one. Voice acting is one of the many creative careers threatened by the raw potential of AI. Speaking on film, though, let's return to our discussion about chatbots. These programs have an interesting relation to the entertainment industry in one particularly interesting facet of film production: screenwriting. With the Writers Guild of America strike that lasted nearly 5 whole months from May 2nd, 2023 to September 27th, when an agreement was finally made between the WGA and the AMPTP, or the Alliance of motion picture and television producers. Though the primary cause of the writer's strike had to do with the very limited residuals paid to writers from streaming media, there was another concern that rose to the surface during the course of the strike. Speaking on job security, a number of screenwriters became worried about a threat that major studios made, that being that they would get help writing scripts using AI technology. Now, I will say, this is something that probably is not worth much concern, but the fear-mongering that big studios promoted is the most concerning part. What would this mean for the future of scriptwriters if this was something that could potentially swipe careers from them? Unfortunately, there is no clear answer yet. There are, however, educated guesses that we can make. After countless hours of research and interviews, I have come to several conclusions that may add some interesting points of consideration to the conversation of AI and screenwriting. First and foremost, it is important to understand that currently, an increasing number of Hollywood screenwriters are already embracing the use of AI chatbots in their endeavors, as these automation technologies continue to advance in sophistication and complexity. Now, hold on, I don't mean this in the sense that ChatGPT is writing full scripts from start to finish, or even writing scripts at all. Well, in most cases at least. No. Rather, many screenwriters use chatbots for the ideation stage of writing scripts rather than using them to actually write the scripts themselves. And I mean, who can blame them? In a Wired article titled "Hollywood's Screenwriters Are Right to Fear AI," their words, not mine, the author states that apparently a statistic that was gleaned from a study by OpenAI was that a large language model is capable of reducing the amount of time that it takes a screenwriter to complete their work by an astounding 50%. I can't make this up. This is an insane statistic that will likely only go up as time progresses. Now, as for my conclusions, will AI eventually replace writers in the entertainment industry? I will reiterate that there is no surefire way to know the answer to this question. However, through my findings, I have concluded that the answer is likely yes, but no. And hold on, I know this answer seems like a total cop-out. And in a way it is, but let me explain. In both my research and interviews, one common theme that I heard reiterated several times is that AI can never truly replicate the emotional complexity of a human being. In concept, it is probably true that artificial intelligence can never develop the actual physical conscience that we as humans are capable of. The key word here, though, is replicate. AI, in concept, is quite literally made to replicate tasks that only the human brain can perform. By this definition, I do think it is quite possible that AI will one day be able to mimic the complexity of the human mind, even if not a perfect recreation. This is why there should be a certain amount of concern that we as a society should have when it comes to creative jobs, such as screenwriting. Even so, this does not necessarily imply that there should be panic surrounding this possibility. Already, organizations around the world are looking for solutions to stopping this from occurring through legal means. There is a level of nuance that is often overlooked in a social issue that involves so many extremes. Recognizing and harnessing these nuances is what we need in order to prevent the worst possible outcomes that many people fear. So, now that I've shown the video, I would like to go to the website itself so that I can explore all of the things I've added a little bit more in depth. Don't want to play that again. But anyways, here's the website that I've created. Of course, it has the title of the project here, and this is a button. You just can't interact with it. This was sort of a test drive. I struggle a lot with coding, so this is not exactly a strong suit of mine, but I'm very proud of how it came out. It was a very, very difficult thing to do, but then these buttons actually do. They do work, and I'll go into those in a moment because I'm not going to talk about the Instagram just yet. So this is just an about section that goes further, just a little further into everything I've talked about so far. It's just a very short summary for people to read who are not aware of the project. And then this is where I've included the video. You can just start it right here. And yeah, it's very, very easily accessible right here. You don't even have to go to the video itself, though the views would be appreciated. And And then for the Instagram that I've created, this is where I've engaged the marketing side of this project. I have I was originally going to include direct links to these posts through the images, but I ended up having some issues with that. It decided just to take captures of the two posts that I did make and just put them here as display images. And then down here, I just have a thank you message. I'm just going outlining some of the creation process, and then I have a contact area with my email. This button goes straight to my email, so um, I could show it. Yeah, it goes straight to an email. We don't have to go into that, but yeah, that's pretty much the website. Now I think we can go to the Instagram content and also the YouTube content. First of all, I can show the YouTube. As you can see here, this is where everything is. A lot of stuff from other classes, but this is where I'm going to upload the video. And then the Instagram is the marketing aspect. So for this, I have created an account that I've called, of course, Storytelling Animated, Automated rather. And then the website link I haven't put in, so I'll do that in a moment. But I have pretty much created two posts, one sort of introducing the website itself, and then another one I made a reel that has the introductory clip for the video itself, so you can kind of it gauges audience interest, and I figured having reels, this account I would probably focus a lot on reels, since reels are very, very important right now. And then I suppose I didn't mention this, but I ended up getting a domain for this, so I definitely like to expand further on this website in the future and this project. So, moving back along, I have some of the feedback that I've received, and I went over this. This is very similar to what I included in the rough presentation, but I had my one feedback report from my friend Mikkel, who told me, who's also trying to become a writer in the entertainment industry, funnily enough, which is why I thought he would be a great one to talk to. And he liked the website. He thought it worked well because it teaches writers about some of the pitfalls of using AI, especially the video. He said the video was fantastic. He really, really liked it. And he also reinstated the video should absolutely be the focal point. And entertainment value is going to be challenging. But with the video, it has very much created this sort of entertainment value. And then this was something I just included because this is something he told me in the original when I first got feedback from him. This is sort of the second round. But initially, he told me about a podcast format, or I talked about a podcast format, a potential podcast format. And eventually I realized, he initially stated this, but absolutely it should not replace a video, which I agreed with. But I ended up deciding to ditch the idea after I realized that it would just be too much for me to take on, especially with how much effort I put into the website and the video. I think I tackled that pretty well. So the competition, initially I had Netflix in here as well, but I really just couldn't find a way to make it fit into the same categories as these two. It was just very difficult to do that because every other streaming service pretty much falls under that same vein. But the AMPTP, the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, they were the primary opposing side to the Writers Guild of America during the strike. They were the ones who made it very, very difficult for writers to retain job security because of writing for streaming, which was very, very difficult. They would constantly have to go between different projects, and it made for a very unstable source of income. Um, and then OpenAI, while it may not directly be what will in the future challenge screenwriting, it is pretty much the most one of the most notable, and it is the most notable chatbot service, especially because they've created ChatGPT, which is huge in the media right now. Completely exploded a year ago when it came out, but that could absolutely lead to future chatbot sort of AI that could possibly pose a challenge. So, in conclusion, I think that the future of screenwriting is difficult to think about, because this is the case for all current professions, whether they're artistic or whether they're not. It's just an uncertain situation. We really don't know where it's going to go. And there's a level of nuance that I think is very, very important to look at, because there are good and bad sides to it, both good and bad potentialities as well. And that nuance needs to be taken into account. However, my final conclusion is that artificial intelligence has the potential to take any and all current jobs in our society, and though it may not truly and physically obtain real human consciousness, there is little to confirm with absolute certainty that it cannot replicate such complexity as it continues to develop in the future. But that is my full presentation. Thank you so much for listening.